Hi, it's Anna Mason, and in this video I wanted to show you how I layered up watercolour to paint this tree and grass landscape. I worked from a photo and created a pencil drawing of the outline edge of the tree and grass, with some of the darker branches of the tree shaded in. I painted the sky first. I have a separate video showing you how I did that, but crucially for the tree I made sure that I painted into the areas where there are gaps in the tree and the sky can be seen. Once the sky was dry, I began, as I do with every subject, by painting the lightest tones or values in the tree and grass. These were a yellowish green colour. I created quite a watery pale mix and applied with my biggest brush to the grass and then with a smaller brush to the tree itself, leaving plenty of gaps through to the sky behind. Once that was dry, I went straight in with the very darkest tones in the tree, which were the almost black areas of shadow on the trunk, watering down a touch where a lighter shade was needed, then going back to the thicker dark mix to work into the most prominent branches. There were a lot of very small branches that were this dark black-brown colour, but I needed to hold off painting these until I was sure that the greens in the tree were dark enough, because to try and darken up around the smaller branches once I'd painted them would likely lead to their black colour bleeding into the greens and the clarity of the colour being lost. Having done that little bit of darkening up, I could see that I needed to darken the sky peeping through the gaps a little further, and it was important to do this now before the tree was painted anymore, so I applied some of my blue sky mix really gently with my brush so as not to lift off any of the dark paint I'd already applied. Next, I painted the dark greens in the leaves and grass. I used the tip of my brush and created lots of little shapes to approximate the sort of detail I could see in the photo, and allowing plenty of little gaps through to the sky and through to the original layer of light green for the lighter green areas. Then I made my dark green mix a little brighter and applied it to the areas of leaves and grass that were this darker mid-tone green. Again, I applied with a stippled sort of brush technique to leave gaps. Next, I brightened my green mix more, adding more water too so as to create a lighter mid-tone green, and applied it in the same way. I applied this mix as a layer over any of the blacks and darker greens in the tree that I felt needed darkening a little too. I then used a larger brush to work this mix into the grass, applying in short up and down strokes and leaving plenty of gaps to the lighter layer underneath to give a sense of the visual texture of the grass. Now I could begin some tonal adjustments. Having darkened the grass a bit, I could see that the original pale layer was too light, so I worked with my bigger brush to apply a glaze, gently, of a light green over the grass to cover those gaps and also darken the rest of it a touch too, without completely losing the texture I'd painted in the layer before. With that dry, I continued to adjust the tonal balance by using a smaller brush and adding some darker details. Then I used a mid-tone mix to further work on the mid-tones and connect it all up tonally. Because of the way we perceive tone as relative to the tones around it, now I'd darkened the grass, I could finally be satisfied that the greens in the tree were dark enough, and I could launch into painting all the tiny black-brown branch details with my tiny brush. With those in place, I also added some dark green details into the tree and into the grass. With all that darkening done, I made some lighter yellow-green adjustments before completing a final round of adjustments, this time adding more darker details into the tree as leaves and branches, including adding a further layer to some of those already painted to darken them up enough and bring the painting into balance. A full video class of this landscape, including the sky, is available now in my online school. If you've enjoyed this tip video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'd love it if you'd share this video with your friends. And if you'd like to take one of my tried and tested video classes for free, pop over to annamasonart.com, where you'll find even more resources to help you pick up your brush and paint the way you've always wanted to. Remember, you won't improve your painting unless you make the time to paint, so be sure to schedule in some me time this week and paint something that you love. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon to help you create watercolours with wow. Let's try it out. I'm going to go down to the 3 brush. Extra bit of detail that I'd left before.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, very fine.
That's not.
Yeah.
The heck is that?
Tank 300 pass.
Yeah.
Sounds really heavy duty.
So it's up to you. Oh.
Clever.
No.